Hey, it's your girls, Leah and Willow, and we're teaching something live on July 29th that we think you're going to love.
It's called the Erotic Polarity Masterclass, How Opposite Energies Create Delicious Desire.
Whether you're in a relationship that's lost its spark or you're dating and craving more charge, this is the class that explains exactly why polarity works and how to consciously bring it online.
We're talking about the 4 modes of erotic exchange: giving, receiving, taking, and allowing, and why most couples rarely play with all of them. We'll also talk about dominant and submissive dynamics without the mystery.
$33 gets you in, and $11 more gets you the recording to keep forever so that you can show it to the next person you're going to date and the next person you're going to date or your partner 5 years later because they might forget.
Not only that, but you'll get our cheat sheet on erotic polarity, so it's a very affordable thing to add to your purchase.
So join us July 29th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to sexreimagined.com/events. We'll see you there.
Hey there, welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast. I am Leah Piper. I'm with Dr. Willow Brown. We are the hosts of the show. And to introduce this week's episode, we're going to open with a listener question. I grew up in a pretty religious household, and spirituality is still complicated for me. I'm drawn to Tantra, but I'm scared it's going to conflict with my beliefs or ask me to commit to some kind of spiritual framework I'm not ready for. Is Tantra a religion, and do I have to believe in something specific to practice it?
So tune in, turn on, and fall in love with the wisdom of this ancient practice.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Okay, so do I have to believe in something specific to practice Tantra?
No, you don't. The answer is no, you don't. You can believe in anything you want and still practice Tantra. Tantra is about union with self, union with spirit, union with another, union with nature. It's about being in a more harmonious state of oneness and allness rather than division, separateness, and duality. You know, we swim in duality constantly, every day, all day. It's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong. I like it, I don't like it. And so our minds and our nervous systems are constantly oriented to, oh, this good thing happened, I'm happy. This bad thing happened, I'm not happy. Tantra gives us the opportunity to drop out of that constant ping pong game that causes so much anxiety for so many people and allows us to just be in union with what is.
Yeah, I would say that instead of Tantra being like a dogma, a religion, even a spiritual path, I think of it more as a philosophy. It's a series of practices that first and foremost carries you into the body so that you can have more embodied experiences within yourself. It opens up doorways to a transcendent experience within your body that I think a lot of people are craving. It gives you ways to be in more harmony with yourself, with a partner, and with nature. Basically, just repeating what Willow just said. It helps us develop our consciousness to regulate our nervous system when it gets stressed out, to catch ourselves before we go straight into patterns. Mm-hmm. It's a path of personal growth. It's a way to be with yourself and to have concrete rituals that help you expand, help you get more out of this life that is, like you said, Willow, filled with duality. One of the things that I always mention oftentimes in the beginning of a workshop is that it feels like life gives us 2 sets of things. On one side of life is all the joy, right? All the beauty. We've got laughter and friendships and vacations we're excited to go on, and sunsets that take our breath away, and baby puppies that lick our face delightfully, and baby smiles that, you know, are riveting. Even though they're doing nothing but drooling, we find them entertaining to all get out. Like, that's this amazing thing of life that brings us so much joy. Then we have this shitty side of life that's got cancer in it and bankruptcy and car accidents and stress and foreclosures and all these things that make life so freaking hard. And what's in between all of that, I think of is really love. And what Tantra does is it helps us come into our bodies where that resource of love exists to help balance out these two parts of life, because the soul gets really weary on the side of life that's really challenging. And we don't need more things to make us happier, to balance out that weary soul. We have to remember that we have a heart, and we can renew our weary soul and the weary soul of another by showing up in conscious relationship. So that's kind of how I think about what Tantra.
I love that. I love that. I think it's such a beautiful visual of, we can all relate to all of that. And, I think that we have these bodies that we're walking around in, these containers for our souls. And, when we have a deeper sense of attunement to our own container, our own instrument, our own, thing that we get to carry our soul around in, then we have so much more. We understand when we're contracting around something and when we're expanding around something. And I think Tantra really gives us that deeper level of attunement to ourselves. Then we can discern, oh, yes, I'm feeling expanded when that person steps into my sphere. I'm feeling contracted when that person steps into my sphere. So we start to, again, playing with the duality, but then you have this stronger sense of discernment, like, okay, now I get to decide, do I want to move toward that person or away from that person or that event or that thing or whatever it is. And
is there another way to see that person? Is there another way to see that event? Is there another perspective available to me other than just my triggered first knee-jerk reaction?
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned like it can help you deal with the knee-jerk reactions of like, I don't feel safe, so I'm going to move away from that person, or I don't feel safe, so I'm going to fight that person, or whatever your sort of pattern of trigger is. It gives you.
I don't feel safe, so I'm going to ignore that.
Say that again.
Or I don't feel safe, and I'm going to ignore that instead of paying attention.
A lot of people definitely just like divert, they just ignore the whole situation. It's always an opportunity to grow when we're going into contraction, and it's an opportunity to grow when we're going into expansion. And so, the word itself, tan, means expansion. So tra, it's a weaving or a tool or an opportunity to expand your capacity to be with life. And that's how you get to be in a deeper union with all of life.
I think too, what's important to know about Tantra and Tantric practices and how you carry all of them, because it's not a dogma, you take your belief system and you add it to the practices. You are the creator or the creatrix of your practice. You decide what elements are in alignment for you. And anything that doesn't resonate, there's absolutely no judgment to curate your own experience and to simply adopt that which feels like, that really speaks to me. And if something else, like you don't have to chant the mantrams for each chakra, for instance. You don't have to study the chakras or even meditate. You can find your own way. If prayer makes more sense to you than meditation, then that's the vehicle that'll get you to the same exact place that meditation does. Meditation and prayer are really very, very, very simple and very similar. And so there's things that you can take that are designed within your belief system that may just have simply a different language, but pretty much gives you the same thing as your end result that you can kind of weave into how you want to play with the tantric path. And, my advice is don't get stuck on the Sanskrit language.
Don't get stuck on any of it. It's all for getting unstuck, not stuck on stuff. So one more thing that I want to talk about is these two legs to Tantra that we teach a lot, which is white Tantra and red Tantra. And when we're in a practice with white Tantra, that is where we're tonifying our own relationship to union, right? We're getting closer and closer to spirit through our own personal practices. So whether that's meditation or prayer or journaling or walking on the beach or whatever it is for you, whatever makes you feel more centered, closer to your own core, closer to your own true essence, that is going to be a white tantric practice. And that's more, I would feel like that's kind of more the spiritual element of Tantra. And then when you bring that highly attuned, well cultivated sense of your own spirit to relationship with another person, then you're in a red tantric practice. So it doesn't even have to have sexuality involved in it at all. But it's just about like how much can my essence meet this other person's essence? And then from that place, both of you get to feel seen and acknowledged in such a deep way, which I think is what all of humans really, really want in this life. They just want to be seen and acknowledged for who they truly are.
Let's take a quick break.
There is a level of intimacy that most couples never reach, and that is just the truth. And it's not because they don't love each other or desire each other, but because no one taught you, or me, frankly, the practices that actually build and sustain erotic depth over years and years together.
And sometimes things are feeling like they're just fine between the two of you, but you can still feel that there's something missing. There's more available, there's more sensation, there's more closeness. Sometimes you can't quite name what it is, but you know that it's missing.
Or maybe you've never had a real foundation for this kind of intimacy, and you want to build one together intentionally and from the start.
We want you to know that what you're sensing is real. In my years working with couples as a Chinese medicine doctor and Taoist sexology practitioner, I have seen something consistently. The body holds what the mind has not had a chance to process. So tension, trauma, old experiences, emotional residue, all get stored in the tissues, especially in the pelvis. And when that area is approached with skill, with presence, and within a proper ritualized container, something releases. Sensations return, and depth becomes available where it wasn't accessible before.
And I have watched this happen in the classroom hundreds of times. A couple walks in a little nervous, a little guarded, and by Sunday afternoon, they are different with each other. Not because something was fixed, but because something was opened.
And that is really what this weekend is designed to give you.
The Sacred Spot Retreat is 2 days at the Craftsbury Farmhouse in Vermont, September 26th and 27th. Saturday is devoted entirely to her body, and Sunday is devoted entirely to his.
Each day follows the same structure. We teach in the morning, then you take an extended private lunch break where you practice together, just the two of you, in your own space with exactly what you learned that morning. Then we continue in the afternoon.
This is educational, it's embodied, it's deeply intimate work, and it is completely safe. Clothes stay on when we are in group spaces throughout the entire weekend. I know this kind of weekend can feel like a big step. Maybe one of you is more ready than the other. Maybe a part of you is nervous.
It's totally normal. It's totally okay. Every couple who has ever walked into one of our retreats, including ourselves when we first stepped into these spaces, has arrived with some version of that feeling. And almost every single person afterwards says that they wish they had done it sooner.
Willow and I have spent decades building rooms where real things can happen safely, where curiosity is welcomed, nothing is ever required, and you set your own pace.
So if you've been sensing that there's more available between you and your partner than there is, and you don't have to keep finding your way there all on your own.
Again, the Sacred Spot Retreat is September 26th and 27th in Vermont. And if you want to taste before committing to the full weekend, we're also hosting a live intro night on September 25th, the evening before the retreat begins. It's 2 hours, it's only $45 per person, and it's at the same location.
So if this is speaking to you, don't wait. Retreats at this size fill really quick, and we can't add more spots to this one. So go ahead and reserve your place right now. Go to sexreimagined.com/event, and we'll see you in Vermont.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, for clarity reasons, that what Willow's talking about is White Tantra is your solo practice. It's a practice that's just for you. It is where you come into yourself, and a lot of people. What are some examples of a solo practice, Willow? What are some examples of your solo practice, your White Tantra? When it's just you?
I mean, some of the ones I just mentioned: prayer, meditation, journaling, walking on the beach, doing qigong. Bowspring for me used to be yoga, and just anything that makes me feel like I'm expanding inside of my vessel, my body, and expanding inside of my heart, and I'm moving away from the contracted places that happen for all of us. They happen for all. It's normal. It's part of life. We wouldn't understand expansion if we didn't experience contraction, right? It's like we wouldn't understand light if we didn't know dark. And so they both have medicine in them. They both have a lot to teach us. And I feel like the tantric path and the tantric lifestyle is to continue to come back home to the expanded state, even when those contractions come, knowing that they are part of the next big expansion.
Yeah, I would say that my White Tantra practice is where I self-pleasure. It's where I do my own yoni witnessing, where I do my own mirror work and kind of come soul to soul and recognize where my pain and my stories are, and then bringing a lot of love and self-love. It's where affirmations often live for people. It's where I practice breath work. It's where I come into myself and I build a relationship to my body. And so for me, that happens to be the chakra map, understanding the psychology of my chakras, doing some self-reflecting, feeling deeply into what I'm still holding there, noticing what parts of my body feel contracted, noticing what parts of my body feel expansive, using touch and energy to try to move the expanded places into the stuck places so that I can get my whole body to have a really clear, full current, so that my body's building a relationship to its whole self. And that means energetically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, sexually, so that I feel like an integrated person and all the things that help me achieve that integration. Sometimes that might be doing research. Sometimes that might be going on a pilgrimage on my own. For some people, that might mean plant medicine. It's an experience of finding, and this may not be a language that works for everybody, but finding the divine that dwells within. And if there's something inside of your belief system that doesn't believe in the divine, then maybe it's finding the piece that is in alignment with it. And so you find the language that works for you. One of the things that really struck me about this question is I grew up in a pretty religious household, and spirituality is still complicated for me. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, I so resonate with that sentence. It so jumped out at me. If you're a listener of the show, you knew I grew up in a born-again Christian Pentecostal cult the first 10 years. And then I got baptized in Catholicism at 11 and had to go to Catholic school, and then completely rebelled against all of it and became a crazy wild hippie for, a decade. And life has just emerged from there. So having a lot of religious conditioning that was seeped into a very young, impressionable brain has created a very interesting person over here. I give a lot of credit for a lot of that, creating a lot of depth, a lot of inquiry, a place that I can find a lot of hope and safety. There's an experience of faith that was a transmission into my system at a young age, but then there was also a fierce, rebellious questioner that was not going to be controlled by religion either, and had a sense of going, I know there's something bigger out there. I know there's something bigger out there, and I'm going to go find it. And I'm not going to just gobble up things that other people say. I'm going to use my own essence and my own curiosity and my own deep knowing to find out what is true for me. And really, in a world, in our Western culture that is very much Christian and Judeo lineage-based religious upbringings, this Tantra was the thing that helped carve out a path that I felt most resonant with me. And it was because it was out with a lot of the religious trappings. There wasn't an almighty being saying, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. It was, here's a system for you to be in inquiry with, and you use your body and the cultivation of inner guidance to tell you what's true or not. You give yourself experiences to find out, is this a crock of shit or does this have some legs to it? And for me, it was like an answer to a prayer, because it helped me straddle these two worlds, the secular world, and then also the spiritual world, and then also the religious world. It finally felt like it was a system that helped me make sense of all these differing ideas, some of which I really liked, but other stuff that just was not a fit, especially more of the patriarchal teachings.
I love that. I love how when you came to the tantric path, it was sort of like an explosion into union with all the different parts, like at the time in your life. And, it's always fun to see that for people when they're like, it's just very freeing. It's very freeing. It takes a lot of shit out of the box. It takes a lot of constructs out of the equation, and it allows you to actually just be more yourself. I mean, by the time I came to Tantra, I was already so far down the Taoist path. I'd been meditating and studying Buddhism and studying Taoism and Chinese medicine for a long time by the time I hit the Tantra journey. And so it all just kind of gelled and made perfect sense.
Yeah.
When I got there.
Total harmony.
Just another adjunct of what I already had been in practice with. But I mean, I also grew up in the Catholic Church. My family is super Catholic. My grandparents had 15 children. They did not believe in birth control, and they, also wanted that many kids. And so I just grew up in that big Catholic family in a small town, and it was it was always, there was a lot of shame. There was a lot of judgment. There was a lot of, you're doing it wrong. You're not being right. You're being wrong, right. It's like that duality. I feel like that's one of the things that kind of makes people feel stuck is the shame and the guilt that comes with those dogmatic religions. And there are plenty of amazing religions out there that don't carry all of that. But Tantra is one of the most powerful ways to release systemic shame and guilt that is stuck way super deep in your tissues and your psyche and your unconsciousness, like nooks and crannies you don't even know are there. And when you open those doors up and you clear that shame and you meet that shame, you say hello to it, you look at it, you figure it, you kind of get to know it, and then it transforms into something else. And that's how you get to lighten the load of you're not enough, you're too much, you're not right in some way. That's what shame really is. It's this feeling and this experience of like, I am not right. I am wrong. Like there's something wrong with me. And it's such a powerful controller. It controls a lot of choices that we make, a lot of paths that we walk on, even foods that we eat. I mean, all little choices throughout the day, I think that's one of the most incredible parts about Tantra is that eradication of shame.
Only totally. I think it's so powerful and important and liberating. And I think Tantra is really a path to liberation. It's really at the heart. That's what we're doing is we are liberating ourselves from our suffering so that we have access to more love, so that we can live our true essence without the trappings of our wounded parts that are grasping for how to get safe, how to get safe, how to get safe. When you realize you are safe, the world isn't such a big scary place anymore. You're not looking for threat everywhere. You're attracting something else into your world. I think too, one thing that may be important for some people is to maybe look at neo-tantra before looking at classical tantra. Classical tantra is going to have a lot more esoteric concepts. It's going to use a language that's more Hindu-like. You're going to be hearing things like Shivanism and stories of these different deities from a more Hindu tradition, which can be an amazing thing. It can also be a really great break from whatever traditional Western religion you might have been exposed to. So that might be something of interest, but it might be something that is not of interest. So just know that you're likely going to find less esoteric and other Eastern traditional stuff that may not be aligned with you in the more classical Tantra study than in the Neo-Tantra. The Neo-Tantra is more for, your modern day Westerner than it is from your Eastern philosophical inquisitor. So that's something to think of. Also, if this is something you're worried about, pay attention to who you study with. Because if someone cannot answer your question why, you shouldn't be studying with them as far as I'm concerned. People who just tell you to meditate this way and that's it, and don't tell you why you should meditate that way and why this meditation, what kind of result this meditation is going to do for you, both inside the bedroom, outside the bedroom, who's not going to explain what these different things are. They just want you to go along with it and not bother them with your questions. They're probably not going to be a good teacher for you because you deserve to know the why underneath every single practice that is being suggested to you so that you can make a decision on whether or not you want to try it.
Yeah. And also, understanding why, like really having understanding is so crucial in the tantric practice and the tantric path. Like if you're not clear or not certain about why you would do something or why it would work for you, then you're kind of missing a huge part of it. And the other thing too is I want to say, like, not having a huge agenda that you need to be some amazing tantric scholar and know every little why of every little practice. Like there is something to also being in the mystery and being in the unknown. But yeah, if you're having a curiosity, you want your teacher and your guide to be able to guide you on that.
Well, really, you just don't want a teacher that A, is either so arrogant that they can't be bothered with your question, or B, they don't know the answer to your fucking question. So they're acting like it's not important. And why are you bothering me with your question? Those are just my personal red flags. I don't know is a great answer to a question.
You speak as if you've had teachers like this before.
No, I really haven't. I've actually only had really great teachers that are very patient with the whys. Okay. But I've been among a lot of students aspiring to be teachers who don't want to be questioned and just want people to do as I say. And so I've been around a lot of religious environments that are more don't question me, do as I tell you.
Right.
So those are the bigger red flags in my personal experiences, is being around way too many authority environments that do not tolerate a lot of questioners.
Yeah, so. you want to definitely like find out for yourself what is this path all about.
Yeah. And there's also great wisdom in like you got to try something to know if it's true for you. Yeah, so exactly. Take in with great sincerity the answer that you get and then try it out and find out if it's true for you. Just drilling a teacher incessantly and then not trying anything makes for a bad student. What could be a good student? Look for good teachers and be a good student, I guess, is the moral.
No. I don't know. I think anything that you feel drawn to and like opens you, like explore there first, and then from there you'll reach a point where you're like, okay, this teacher's not for me anymore, and you'll move on to the next one. Yeah. You're always going to be your best teacher. Your body's always going to be your best teacher. Your own experience is always going to be your best teacher. So follow that feeling of expansion.
Yeah, when it comes to sexuality, this is where I just feel like Tantra could bring so much value into everybody's lives because it slows sex down and it helps you get present and it helps you become aware of what you're experiencing and it helps you track what your partner's experiencing so that you can move together and have a deeper, more meaningful experience in sex. So the bottom line is if you want to have experiences in sex that feel more meaningful, that make you feel closer, that provide you with some sort of transcendent, altered, beautiful experiences that just kind of take your breath away, and you want that depth of closeness with another human being, man, take the jump and practice some Tantra. At the minimum, it's going to give you that. You can leave all the other stuff, but it's going to bring you home to yourself. It's going to teach you about presence. It's going to bring you closer to a partner. It's going to slow down sex, and it's going to give you better orgasms. And by God, it might just take you out to the cosmos.
It's going to feel so good.
a little whirly, and thank us and let us know how it all turned out. I think we've got time for one more question.
Okay, one more question.
Let's see. Okay, well, here's one that we already kind of touched on it. So maybe let's just see if there's anything else we want to
expand upon it. Let's see.
Yeah. I really want to work with a Tantra teacher, but honestly, the whole space makes me nervous. I've heard some stories and I don't know how to tell the difference between someone who's legitimate and someone who's just using Tantra as a cover for something inappropriate. What should I look out for as red flags?
That is an excellent question. As we have touched on already, you want somebody who knows, who's been in practice, who's studied, who knows their shit and is patient with your questions and guiding you and teaching you and also pointing you back to you and your own experience. Like a lot of times when somebody asks me a question, I might ask them a question back so that I can actually pull the answer from them and then give them a little bit more information about that particular question that they're asking so that they have a really rounded understanding of what they're even asking. Because I think sometimes students, with Tantra, it's such a different path. And it's like, you don't even know what you don't know. So when you start to ask questions, you're kind of fumbling a bit with them. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to ask here, but this is what's happening. So yeah, look out for that. And then also look out for people who are like overly sexualizing Tantra, like this is one piece of the pie with Tantra is sexuality. And it's a piece that we, are very adept at and teach very well and teach with a lot of integrity. And there are a lot of Tantra teachers out there who teach that way. So I would say, find somebody that you feel like, wow, they're really holding sexuality with integrity. And, even if they're making it kinky or dirty or super, taboo, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like underneath all of it, it's in the name of love and it's in the name of helping somebody evolve and grow.
I think one is watch out for gaslighting. When a teacher tries to pull you away from another communities, that should be a red flag. They should not be isolating you from your normal communities, from your family, from your group of friends, from your other religious or spiritual belief systems. There should be no kind of manipulation to get you into only being with their community. That is something to watch out for. Another thing is for someone to shame you for your questions or for shaming you for pushing back on something that they're bringing to the table. You should be able to ask questions and get answers to your questions. And, if you're questioning someone with a ton of suspicion and they're getting defensive, well, that's just human nature. Make sure your questions are respectful and are in context with what you're learning, that you're not just attacking someone's person without good reason. So some of this it has a lot of nuances, right? So it might be an easier question to answer with some specifics, but things that I would really be looking for is gaslighting. Someone making me feel like I am crazy for making a suggestion or asking a question or getting me to change who I surround myself with because what they're doing is better than what everyone else is doing. Big red flag. The other thing is a teacher that is sleeping with a lot of their students. A teacher who is really targets who they're seducing, being oftentimes the younger people in the room and the most beautiful people in the room. Those are always really a little sketchy. There could be some grooming going on. So I would be looking for teachers who, that their personal life is a reflection of their teaching life. That they're not hiding a lot of secrets. They're not asking the people they're having sex with to keep it a secret. That they're really open with their personal philosophy and they're open with their personal life. They are transparent so that everyone knows kind of what they're getting involved in. And it also fosters an experience of transparency and trust for everybody. So when you've got teachers that are being really sneaky or behind the scenes, that's really confusing. Also, if they had a controversial experience that maybe has created some controversy around their business, maybe don't be too quick to judge them. Maybe ask them about it with great curiosity and see what their answer is. How do they respond to that controversy? Are they humble? Do they communicate, that was unfortunate. Here's what I learned. This was a really hard chapter. Or do they pretend it never happened? Do they get defensive? Do they bluster? All those things could give you some really great information on whether or not you'd want to study or continue to study with them.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point that you're making, because particularly a lot of male Tantra teachers do get thrown under the bus, and controversy does come up for them. It's not uncommon at all in this industry. And, it's no one ever really knows until you ask the person what actually happened. What was your side of the story? So it is good to really just actually get to know your Tantra teacher. We opened this whole conversation with talking about Tantra as union, right? Tantra as intimacy. So you want to have an intimate, a close, a deep trust with your Tantra teacher. And you can feel that. You can feel when you have a deep trust with somebody versus when you are, when they're kind of up on a pedestal or up on a stage and you're like, you've got this kind of different experience with them. I think you're going to get so much more out of your journey, your education, your practice when you have a trusting, closer relationship with them. And a good Tantra teacher understands the flow of universal love. So they aren't holding back, as Leah was saying, they're not hiding, they're not in secret, they're not holding parts of themselves back. They're offering all of their wisdom and all of their expertise so that you have as much information as they do to discover your own tantric path and experiences.
And then I think maybe the last thing I want to say about this is don't glamorize your teachers. Don't put them on pedestals. They're human, flawed beings we're all just doing the best we can, trying to figure it out. We shit the bed. And how we clean up that shit is what really matters. And so you don't need your teacher to be perfect. What you need them to be is to have integrity, to know how to clean up their own messes, to be a human being, And so be mindful not to teach or worship. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can do for your own experience. And it doesn't bring out the best in the teacher because they aren't to be worshiped. They're there to learn from. And you don't need a perfect teacher to get incredible wisdom and to keep expanding and exploring and finding the truths that make sense in your life. I encourage you to study with as many teachers as you can. Don't become a disciple of one teacher. Completely unnecessary and a little short-sighted, because every teacher has something so unique, who has a perspective that really carries a part of the magic of all of this. And so expose yourself to as many teachers as you can, and allow this whole process and practice to be a personal, curated journey for yourself and what makes sense for you.
Yeah, remember that you are going to be your own best teacher. You're just gathering information, you're gathering practices, you're gathering stories and experiences so that you can, it's a lot of it is permission. You know, a lot of what teachers give is permission. It's okay. You can have this experience. It's okay. Like, cause there's so much shame around sexuality. There's so much taboo. It's like, I mean, I had moments early on when I started doing, you know, real tantric dakini work with Leah. I would call Leah up and be like, is this okay? Is it okay that like I felt pleasure? She's like, oh yeah, great. You can have that too. You know? So I remember, and we've had, you've had countless students come to you with those kinds of questions. And anytime they come to me, you know, the question back to them is always like, how do you feel about it? And they're like, I had a great time. I'm like, well, then God bless. That's all you need. Like, you need your own permission to experience the expansion of what tantric brings. So I think just keeping in mind that there's so many layers to the education of Tantra, and it's ever expanding. Like, I don't think you could ever reach the end.
And I think too, like, what it asks of everyone who dabbles into looking at sexuality, sacred sexuality, or other types of sexuality, kink, BDSM, any of the realms that has us really curious about how can we have a sex life that feels really rewarding, it's for human beings, sex is still very complicated. The world of sexuality is still fraught with so many landmines. And as humans, we don't have it all figured out. There's no one path that's going to keep you completely safe without any risk and still have these big rewards of great experiences. That doesn't exist yet. We have not knocked that out. But one thing that's happening that is really cool is that more and more the science is starting to back up what's happening through tantric practices, with what's happening from the brain science perspective, from the physiological perspective, from the blood flow perspective, and from the transcendent perspective. So we're in a really exciting time where what we know from the science realm is really starting to merge with this more esoteric realm called Tantra. And so we can put a lot of faith in that. I think that really helps for people who are a little nervous. And at the end of the day, you got to take some leaps to get big gains. And so if you're ready for that, there's baby steps you can take. And we hope you take those baby steps with us.
Yes,
because we really endeavor to create safe experiences filled with consent and guardrails that help you go at your own pace. And I think that's really important.
And on that note, we've got some really awesome things coming up. We've got a polarity masterclass that you don't even have to leave your own home, and you can learn all about the feminine and masculine poles and how powerful those are, even if you're in a same-sex relationship, and how much more dynamic your sexuality can be when you're really embodying those. And then we've also got a couples retreat coming up in Vermont in September. And that's going to be so incredible, magical, delightful, expansive, healing, so many things.
Well, I think that's good for today. Willow, it's fun to talk to you. I'm here hanging out in New York City, getting ready for a workshop this weekend. And I hope you all are having a wonderful summer. I know it's really hot in Europe and it's really hot on the East Coast. Hope you're staying cool, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.
If the physical connection in your relationship has started to feel routine, I want you to know that's not a chemistry problem. It's a skills problem, and skills can be learned. I created a 90-minute on-demand masterclass called The Art of Sensual Touch, where you will learn the actual language of pleasure, the 5 modalities of touch, how to build anticipation that absolutely drives your partner wild, how to read their body in real time, and the advanced principles that make you the kind of lover people simply don't forget. Touch is everything. In fact, your skin is the biggest sex organ of the body. And now you can take this masterclass, watch it on your own schedule, come back to it whenever you want, and put it to use the very same night. Instant access for only $55, and it includes the More Love Touch cheat sheet to keep as your permanent reference guide. So don't delay. Go to moreloveworks.com/courses to start tonight.